first episodes. Were you given any motivation or background, or who talked to you about it? How did that happen?
Well, I feel really fortunate in the sense that from the beginning, Dave Filoni, Catherine Winder, Henry Gilroy, they really allowed me to give some input on the character, because I think they had an idea of what they wanted Ahsoka to be and who she was, but nothing was nailed down. So, of course, they would throw out their opinions and they would kind of let me toy with it, and it was really a collaboration of all of us. And I would say it took a couple months. I would say about 6 months before it was really nailed down, like, okay, this is how we want her. And we redid, several lines, and they had no problem, redoing a line a couple times before.
Well, that sounds a lot more exciting to be involved at that level with the character and with a brand new character and helping to establish it.
Oh, I was extremely honored that they were even, willing, to let me give my opinion, and I was thrilled to be a part of the process. And, I just ask you guys to be patient with Ahsoka as she grows. I mean, yes, she's young right now, and she's still learning, and trust me, she does. She matures, she grows, and just so far what we've done, I mean, I really, am proud of her progress and where she's going, but, I know some people are calling her the Hannah Montana of Star Wars. Why avoid the elephant in the room? But you know what, she does, and I say you have to start somewhere. And she's a fun character, and she definitely grows and she matures. And so I just ask you guys to be patient and enjoy her.
As she grows.
She grows.
Watch her grow. I mean, that's one of the exciting things for all of us, especially the folks actually working on the Clone Wars, but some of us who get to see episodes as they're coming along and being developed, and seeing the progress and how the story is changing, and how the artists and everybody are getting more comfortable with the characters and their roles. And all along, this is meant to be a developing story that takes place over a multi-year period, and you see growth in the characters, changes in the characters, you see, changes in the physical environments and some of the vehicles and things of that nature too. And they're starting to work on some of the season 2 animation already. And I got to tell you, I mean, the season 1 stuff blows me away. It's just getting better and better as it goes along. And now I'd like to talk to another new character. This is a newly invented character named Yoda. And okay, so Tom, you had a completely different kind of problem, opportunity, whatever you want to call it. I mean, here, and you've done Yoda before, and if you would talk a little about that, but you're taking over an iconic character who has been voiced by, a master that everybody knows. How do you go about handling something like that?
Well, it is a different job. I mean, usually in a new cartoon series that comes along, it's all new. And they start off with sketches, and they'll show the sketches to the voiceover people and try to get their take on what they think that character might sound like. Sometimes it's easy, I'm Mr. Harriman on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, so they show you a picture of a giant bunny rabbit with a monocle and a top hat and a big handlebar mustache. That was an easy one, you drew the British Colonel or something. But when you're handed as you say, an iconic character, it's a completely different job. I mean, the only thing you can do that is going to satisfy anybody is come as close to it as possible. And I grew up on this just like you guys did. I saw Star Wars when I was 15, and you go.
So you're not 900.
No. But so you just got to try to be faithful to it as possible. And again, it's also a more difficult task with this particular character because he changed over time. Partly because Frank Oz, unlike Yoda, can't live to 900 years old, and as we age, our voices change. And over the 20-some-year period of time where they filmed the 6 original episodes, he sounded a little different. So it was kind of like and some of that was just age, and some of it was George changing the character, and Yoda evolving and growing and changing his character as well, because he did. You know, he went from the way he was when we met him, which was sort of a little bit of the goofball hermit, and then he became the sage. So, you know, we actually, at one point, I ran into George at a benefit for Sean Connery after we recorded, what, I don't know, 3 or 4 episodes. And I asked him how, you know, are you okay with what I'm doing as Yoda? And he actually kind of went, well, no. And I'm going, my heart sank. And he said, and I said, well, what? And he said, well, actually, I think I want him to sound more F5. And I went, okay, because I was trying to make him sound very much more like Frank did most recently, which is a little darker and a little, you know, a little more serious, you know. And it's not what he wanted. So we actually had to redo a certain amount of dialogue so it sounded, you know, a little more, you know, you know. So that's it's a different term for the right? Well, it is funny because I actually started doing Yoda about 12 or 15 years ago.
What was the first Yoda?
It was for a video game. And see, Frank became a director. Maybe you guys may not know that, but he became a very successful director in Hollywood. And you know, it's hard to get people's schedule if you're just a regular on-camera actor. It's hard to find these people that can donate 4 hours of their time if they're on a series. It's impossible if they're a director. So the first thing that happened was they started looking for people to replace some of the original characters just because they were either in England, and you have to understand this is 15 years ago. The technology 15 years ago wasn't there to just phone patch to England and have Anthony or any of the original folks just do it. You couldn't do that back then. You had to put it on a plane or record it there and ship it. It just was a pain. In Frank's case, he just wasn't available. He was off shooting 3 Men and a Baby, I believe it was, or something. So, and I was just goofing around. I was doing some other LucasArts thing. I think it was one of the very first video games they did. And of course, I'm just sitting there, you know, trying not to wet myself because I'm working on a project that has the word Lucas in it. And I was just goofing around, you know, like voice actors do, trying to show off. And I was reading some of the dialogue that was in there as Yoda, and I was trying to do my best Yoda. And I look up, and the director says, "Can you do that again?" I'm like, okay, why? He's like, just do that again. Well, they recorded it, and they took it up and played it for George, I assume, or somebody, and they said, yeah, use him. So it was just that easy, and that's unusual. There weren't auditions, there weren't whatever. Somebody, again, I was told it was just George, because he makes those decisions, said, that sounds good to me, and it's stuck. But it is weird because there's a whole generation of people my age and younger that are having to take over for the prior generation. I mean, James Arnold Taylor, who is Obi-Wan, is just a few months ago became Fred Flintstone because the original guy was 80 and he can't do it anymore. So it's hysterical because you got James Arnold Taylor, who's about 5'1" and weighs 120 pounds soaking wet, going, Bonnie! And so, you know, it is weird because, again, these are things we grew up on, and they mean something to us, too, so you got to be careful with it.
So let's see, the 7-foot guy plays Yoda,
yes.
And I guess that makes sense somehow. Now,
well, the guy that does Jabba is about a 450-pound bald black guy, and he's also Barney Rubble. So you got this guy who looks like a 400-pound Morpheus in his floor-length leather coat, standing next to James, who's 5'2" and blonde, and James is going, Barney, and the other guy's going, you know, only in the world of voiceover work could this happen, you know.
You do a couple of other voices in the Clone Wars.
Yes.
Tell us a little about them.
I'm the either much loved or much despised opening narrator, depending on who you're talking to. It's interesting.
Do a little.
The Empire at War. You know, as the clone forces close on Geonosis. And where that came from, that was straight from George. He, he wanted very specifically. He wanted the exact sound of those old Western serials. that he grew up on the radio. And you know, it was just that simple. It was basically the, you know, join us for the